Peace to the east, the west, north, and the south. This is FleurBrun coming to you today with a new topic of discussion. I don't even know if I'm on. Hello, there's one person here. Oh, I pissed off YouTube the other day, so I can see that only one person's in the live. This might be good though, because then I'll do the live. Maybe they want to see what I talk about first before they allow anyone to watch. So I'll wait a minute or two. It's kind of interesting. Wow. Let me know when anyone's here. I know I should do more announcements when I come in, right? I should do more announcements. Oh, goodness. Let me know when you guys are here. Oh, there we go. Hey, Frez. There you go. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Chris. Hey, Lyron. Hey, Cosmic Oz. Hey, Imani. Hey, Donna. Okay, you guys are coming in. Good. Lovely. Put a like. Hey, Melissa. Patricia. Enchantress. Balaxer. Tiffany. Ekela. Lisa. Do it to the girl. Divine Being Goddess. D Loves. Trevion. Juanita. Mimi. Ilita. Suzanne. Muslima. Manika. Hello, my loves. Hey, Mariah. Hey, Dorothy. All right. Hey, Kimiko. I just wanted to, I had to test it because after last live, I figured YouTube was going to put a straight up block on any live that I did. For those who missed the live, hey, Jupiter. Hey, Donald. Hey, Go Getter. Hey, Tia. Hey, Annie. Big Heart. For those who missed the last live, it was just basically a rant. And it went so far left. But I'll put it up it's going to be up on my Patreon. Or Rumble takes forever. And it's hard for me to upload them to Rumble. So I would have put it on Rumble because it's appropriate for Rumble. At least I think. So we'll wait until how's everybody doing? Post-fake eclipse. Did you guys realize that the whole, the eclipse was a psyop? Did you realize that? It was a whole psyop, y'all. Ooh, I tell you. I think sometimes they think that we're so dumb because back in the days they could get away with, putting false fixtures in the sky and illuminating it or showing a sun that looks nothing like the sun when we were younger. The sun when we were younger, do you remember when we were younger, we all used to draw a sun in the clouds and the sun was always yellow? And we always made it yellow because that's how the sun looked outside when we used to look outside. But you notice that sun hasn't been yellow for a long time. That sun simulator has switched to 5.340 and it isn't as holistic or homeopathic, on your skin. Thank you, please. Thank you, Big Heart. Put a like on the video if you want. This one should stay up. I hope so. If I don't go, please keep me on point because sometimes I go ranting and then it makes the video horrific because I can't keep it up on YouTube because YouTube censors. So we're going to talk about, the sun. Remember, we do have 2 and 3 suns too. That's another thing. What sun are these? Okay, and that awful fake psyop eclipse. How you gonna have 2 eclipses in the matter of 2 solar eclipses in the matter of remember they said one was in 2023, then we had another one in 2024, and remember it's and then 2017. Come on, y'all. Who has that many solar eclipses in that close of proximity? I'm just saying. I don't know. I could be wrong. Anybody who's into, astronomy, I could be wrong, but everything in the sky is a simulation. We're going to talk about the simulation. It's a fun topic today. So I'll wait until everybody gets when we get to 500, we'll start the topic. Okay. So the fake psyop solar eclipse. Okay. That was crazy. When you see the moon right next door and it's not over the supposed sun and there's something in front. And then there was this anomaly that showed up in the ocean that I think MB33 had shown. It was like some sort of blob in the water coming from Antarctica. Did you guys see that? It was showing up on, now when I looked at the actual app, it was gone. So they already swiped it. They already cleared it on the site. They rewound it and basically cleared it. Because by the time I went to go check the anomaly, they had already expunged everything. So you remember that? A blob came from Antarctica. I personally thought it was a ship. But, you can't really say, because remember, ships, the ships that Nebuchadnezzar, Planet X, Nibiru, isn't going to come from above. It's going to come from below. And that big brown woman who stands over in Antarctica with the afro, right? Big up to Aziza who showed us that. There is a big brown woman, beautiful, melanated woman. She's wearing like this white outfit. She's like some sort of guardian that's over on Antarctica with a big afro. Who's to say there's not there people coming over here? I don't know. So I can't say because they took down the actual. I got to see it on MB33 and a couple other people's sites, but it's hard to say. We're in pole shift time, y'all. Okay, Dubai has water. You saw Dubai? You got Mercedes-Benz. They got like it's like the most materialistic place. Dubai is like the devil's playground. If Satan existed, he would be existing in the Middle East with that kind of egregious kind of wealth. Okay, so their planes were underwater. No shade, Dubai, but when you have that kind of wealth in a world where people are starving right next door and you're prostituting African women who think they're coming over there to be maids and you think it's okay to prostitute them or to send them to the hospital to take their organs, I think you're the devil. I'm just saying, women coming over there from, like Ethiopia or if it's Sudan, going to work as housekeepers in Dubai, thinking that they're going to try to help their families where they come from, and you send them to the hospital to sell their organs for like $50,000. I'm just saying your wealth doesn't really look that bright and shiny anymore. It's just my opinion. I'll wait until we get to 500 before I start the topic. You know what I mean? So, anywhere you see egregious wealth like that, but then you see poverty and marginalization, forms of misogyny, you got to be careful with that because not everything that's shiny and not everything that glitters is gold, right? Remember that saying? So in and itself, you got to be concerned about that. If you're still in a world where people are judged on complexion or sex, or if they have a handicap, if they're judged and they're marginalized, especially children or elders, then, I don't think you're wealthy. I actually think you're poor putting on a facade of wealth. Because wealthy would show on the inside first and then illuminate on the outside. Just saying. Okay, so we're in pole shift time, y'all. We're going to talk about the simulated people, the NPCs, how you're able to distinguish what's an NPC or not. And also, it's the end of the simulation. The video game is ending, and this is the finale. The finale is getting really exciting, though. Okay? So let's wait until we get to 500. Please, as you step in the door, can you put a like on the video just to keep up the shenanigans? I don't think this video YouTube will take off, but they're on my tail. Okay. They're on my tail again. Oh, this is the finale. Oh, drum roll. It's the drum roll. Are you guys ready and prepared? Did you prepare for the finale of this game, this video game? Did you guys prepare for everything? Did you learn all your skill sets in the last couple of sessions of the game? I hope so. Because this finale is going to test you on every level, every part, every skill set that you've earned. If you were lax, lazy, or cheated in the game, it's going to show up in the finale. So I hope you're ready. The NPCs are in full form. Sims stepping all in your stratosphere, trying to distract you, trying to stick in their wands or yonis of mass destruction. Y'all, if you weren't prepared for this finale, you're going to get caught up in all kinds of craziness. So let's get it to 500 and let's start the conversation. See, I make my own drink. And I like my glass straws. I keep it as authentic as possible. This is like a SM. I look like my daughter. My daughters. You leveled up? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Quest for truth. Because anything at this point is about to be buck wild. It's already starting. Okay? So we're almost there, 500. Put a like on the video if you're up for the shenanigans, please. Just as a courtesy. If you like listening to the conversation, even though I get busted a lot of times, don't you feel like you're like, I'm like like we're in high school and I'm running down the hallway because I've cut class, and like I'm running from like the hall monitor. That's how I feel on YouTube, y'all. I feel like I'm like in high school running and cutting class and running through the hallways, hopefully the hall monitor doesn't find me. That's how it feels when I'm on YouTube, y'all. My God. All right, almost there. We're almost at 500. Come on out. Remember, like, some of you were too young to remember. Remember Breakfast Club? Remember they were running through the hallway? They had detention. Remember that? And they were running down the hallway because they were supposed to stay in there. And the principal was like all kinds of like insidious. That's how I feel right now. What up, Yafi? So check on it. We're almost at 500 and I'm going to start the topic, okay? Okay? I'm back in my sundresses, y'all. This is a sundress. I'm back in my outfits. I feel so sunny right now, even though the sun simulator is not helping me. I'm getting that tan that I like from the sun. Well, listen, the sun simulator, I still got to put like stuff on my skin just to make sure, because that sun simulator is looking crazy. But when I'm in a sundress, I feel really happy again. Because I'm not in Florida anymore, but I love my sundresses. Many of you know I like my tube top sundresses. I love them. I feel so girly. When I have to put on clothes, I feel like I'm being abused. I feel like the government is trying to suppress my inner feminine. I feel like they're trying to withhold me from being really who I truly want to be. Isn't that a shame? Yeah, I love sundresses. I love sundresses. Many of you met me. It was always two tops on YouTube. That's how you know I'm feeling myself. Thank you, my loves. Okay, come on, sea stars and sun stars. Come on, 10 more people and we're gonna start the conversation. Put a like on the video, let's get in. We're gonna get on NPCs because many of you are starting to see the NPC overload. You're in Florida, Virginia? I miss Florida. You live in sundresses? Tiffany says she does. I love sundresses. It makes you feel so girly. Like, I think we're supposed to be in the jungle, y'all, or the forest. I think some of us are meant to be in the, women, we thrive when we're like in the jungle or in the forest. Like hanging out in the hammocks in the trees. But now the trees are fake and they're putting 5G towers and hiding them as trees, y'all. You know that, right? Okay, here we are. We're at the 5. Please put the time. Can someone put the time mark on the video so that people who come in know the time mark? Okay, let's get it in. So, peace YouTube, peace the east, west, north, and south. This is FleurBrun coming to you today with a new topic of discussion. Let's get in with the conversation about the NPCs. Now, y'all, we are entering the finale of Earth Simulation 666. The freaking, oh, what up, Jose? I missed you. Jose's in New York. That's the real concrete jungle. Yo, but I used to wear my sundresses anyway. Just I have to close my legs real tight on the subways though. Because you never know what could crawl up there. It's not because somebody's looking because you don't care, but it's what could crawl up here. Let me stop. Okay, so let me stay on topic. So this is Earth, the end, the finale of Earth Simulation 666, the Luciferian end, okay? The Molachian reign of terror is ending, okay? So let's start talking about the NPCs, y'all. Many of you know, when we're talking about NPCs, for those who don't know, NPC is like a term, and really, I didn't make the term. So I want to give, I never made the term. I remember hearing it. I used to call them empty seaters. Many of you know me for years. I call them empty seaters, fillers, backdrop people. Some people call them backdrop people, but basically they're non-playable characters. This is a video game, y'all. This is all a simulation. I'm part of your simulation, I'm a character in your game, and vice versa. There aren't many actual beings in here, and I like to liken it like this. And I gotta give props to Alex, who's on our Zoom. He's just a phenomenal in giving me a different perspective. I love male perspective, especially when they're just really more logical. He was saying, like, you know, when you remember, some of you guys like to play video. I like to play Resident Evil. Remember, that was one of my old retro games. But you know, when you go to play a game, you guys play games sometimes with your friends, like on Skype or like remote, right? So you could have your homeboy, he's playing in Seattle, you're playing in New York, the other homeboy could be playing in Cali, right? And then you could have your homeboy playing in Hawaii, right? So you all come together in a game, right? So 4 of you enter into the holographic playing ground of the simulated game structure, right? Whatever game it is, whether it's like, I don't know, Gods of War, Silent Hill. I don't know what kind of games you guys play, and you get in there. But when you enter the game, even though you know who each of you are, like you know the characters that you're playing in your avatar in the game, everybody else in the game is artificial. Artificial. All the others are NPCs. Even though in the game you all have a similar avatar or a similar in the spectrum of the game, you all have the same kind of phenotypes playing in there. But the fact of the matter is, when you go into the game as a real being, just inserting yourself in the AI system of holographic simulation, you are in a simulation, but you're a real being. Everything in there is an NPC. I liken that to what we're engaging with now. That's why I say, I used to think it was a lot less, but y'all, we're gonna go into the NPCs. I actually think that there's 80% non-playable characters in here, with the theory that if we're coming into the simulation, there would only be a few of us that are coming in, playing in an avatar. Okay, and we're in a realm. Now, remember I talked about before a lot of times, like how you know is like, it's like, you know when you used to have the Sims game and you'd be this character and you go in the Sims game and you go inside of a room and there's nobody in the room, but as soon as you step in the room, all of a sudden, all of these other Sims start stepping in the room to interface with you. Like you'll be in a drive-thru. I always talk about the drive-thru, or when you go in a store. Like I remember we were in Mexico, we went inside of this, it was like a breakfast place, and nobody was in there. And as soon as we get in, all of these people start, like almost like there's an alarm system to say, oh, there's a character in here, let's fill up the space. We gotta fill up the space to make it look more realistic. That's kind of what happens all the time. Most of the beings in here are artificial intelligence. They are loopers. They are characters in this holographic system. And because many of you have been here too long, you're starting to take on some of their characteristics, and also you're starting to believe that they're real. Remember the chick? I always make fun of her. That mother freaker's not real. Remember she was in the back of the plane? Yo, she was mad funny. She was like, that mother, I'm not kidding, on the plane. That mother, her hair, her tan was fleek, y'all. She was looking, but she was terrified. And people were like, oh, that was her finger. No. I think she saw a glitch. I think she saw something that was, it just threw her off some. They were saying she was talking. Nobody really could tell us with certainty what she saw. But I tell you, listen, you know when you take a flight and you pay your ticket, she didn't care if she lost her money. She didn't care how crazy she looked. That lets me know that there's most likely a 90% chance that she was telling the truth. She saw something glitched out that made her concerned for her safety. Because if she's not from our realm, where we know these things exist, imagine she's seeing somebody that kind of glitched out, like they came in and out. You wouldn't want to be on the plane either. Okay, I can't verify what she's saying is true, but her reaction, her ability, her reasoning for leaving the plane, even though she had to probably be inconvenienced, somebody was probably picking her up at the airport when she was going somewhere. I just think you wouldn't do that unless you saw something that concerned you, okay? So let's talk about the NPCs. When I talk about NPCs, a lot of times people are like, how can you discern? And NPCs in themselves, because they're in this video game, do they actually know that they aren't real? Like Pinocchio, right? He wanted to be a real boy, right? So there was me and the zombies. I don't know when this was, right? Me and the zombies. listen, we're on Zoom like sometimes 24 hours. I mean, I love it because it's like your nerdy friends that just talk about everything. So we get bored and we do things like that. So one of the sea stars, I think it was was it Catherine? I think it was Catherine or Chris. I forgot who it was. She played, this guy was playing a game and she showed that this guy was talking to NPCs inside of the game to see if they realized that they were NPCs. He was playing some video game and he was going up to other characters in the game, telling them that they're in a simulation and that they're not real. It was actually really interesting to see in real time how an NPC would react in being confronted and asked and told that they aren't real. And one kind of glitched out a little bit. He was like, oh no, I love it here. You can't, it's depressing. No, I can't, you can't tell me that. Like, it was so surreal to see the reactions of the NPCs as they're being confronted. Okay, so, so in itself, you got to realize that if my concept is correct and 80 or plus more are NPCs, majority of beings in here aren't real. And because we're at the end in the finale of the game, I don't know if you played, I play, and I know it's old school because you can say, I'm not, this is like years ago, y'all. The first and only great video game I ever played. I played others like Pac-Man and, Centipede and stuff like that. That's like real retro. But I'm talking about like the real moving games was Resident Evil. And in Resident Evil, you basically had, would play the game and confront people and they would only have a certain amount of data that they can disclose to you because that was the only position they were supposed to play. So when you talk in the realm of an NPC, NPCs have limited data. And how do you know? Because they always loop. They're always repeating things over and over again. Like you can meet them 20 years later. It's always a different, maybe different scenery, but same antics, same kind of loop. You know what I mean? So you can go to them like 20 years later, like before when you were with them when you were young, it was always like, maybe they were going for a job and having struggles with that and arguing with their siblings. And then 20 years later, now they're leaving a job, they're having problems with their husband and children. It's always the same loop. And they aren't able, it's always constantly, there's nothing real. It's like when you go in the game Jumanji. Remember the guy was like in Jumanji when they first entered Jumanji? When Kevin Hart, The Rock, they jumped into different bodies and then they would meet a character inside of the video game and the video game was like, welcome to Jumanji, da-da-da-da-da, right? And then they would say, hey dude, how do we get out of here? Where are we going? Then the character would say, hey, welcome to Jumanji, da-da-da-da. It's a constant loop. Now the loops can be wider, meaning that they have a good amount of data that they can use in interfacing with you to kind of give you the illusion that they could be real. But generally, if you stay long enough or you return in a far enough distance back to them, you'll see it's the same perpetual loop, okay? And then also, within the realm of characters within these loops, sometimes what it does is when there's an update in the game, let's say it's like years later, there's an update in the game, the character's features might change. So then you return back to the same scene of the crime where you entered in some space, and then the person looks a little different because there's updates. That's why I found out, listen y'all, when I found out that the Mandela effect was just updates in the simulation, it made so much sense. That's why some people didn't have the memory, because NPCs only have updates. They can't remember the old information because they're in the updated system. You know, when you get an update on the phone, it isn't able to really get pulled totally from the archives. So everything from that point on is basically new data, right? So when you have a Mandela effect, I realized the Mandela effect was simply updates. That's all it is. Like you're updating the phone, it's updating the simulation in the matrix. That's all it is. So all of the NPCs only have the updated data. Okay, so whenever you're dealing with NPCs, you have to understand they have a role to play, sometimes as main characters, sometimes they're antagonists, protagonists. They can be someone who pushes you further in the game. Like there's certain characters that are meant to give you clues or to be a catalyst for you to move further in the game. But after they do that, their position, their role is played, and that's all they're meant to do, then you aren't meant to go further with that NPC. Some of you are sleeping and married to NPCs, y'all. And you wonder why your life is stagnated. Some of you are actually hanging out with a whole roster of NPCs. And then wondering like it's the same thing over and over and over again. NPCs have a limited amount of data. They're only there for specific reasons. Sometimes they're just fillers, just like props. Like if you have a prop on a stage and it's just there to fill in the space, that's all it's meant to do. You're not meant to sit there on the rock and talk to the rock for the entire game. You got to keep it moving. This is the finale, y'all. This is what we came, the best and the baddest are here. Listen, all the ghosts, all the incarnates, all the demons, all the dark entities are trying to get bodies right now, because if you earned a body up in this piece at this particular time during the end of a cycle, it means you earned the privilege to be able to engage in the finale of this matrix system. It's going to recycle. It's going to start over again. Remember, that's the concept, that there's nothing new under the sun. Okay? So this is the end, friend. The simulation is ending. The finale is amazing. Oh, you've got a president wearing masks. He poops on himself. He's playing different characters. You got Obama putting on the mask. That's why he looked jiggy sometimes. Remember, there was no inauguration. It was pre-taped. You got fake singers like J-Lo, who's don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the block. Remember, the fakest person, and Mr. What's the thing's name? I forgot her name. Remember, they were at that. Why would you have J-Lo as your guest at the? Why would you have J-Lo at the inauguration? What credentials? And what was it, Gaga? Mr. Gaga with balls? What, eating body parts on a table and acting like it's cake? What would be the credentials? You know, when I ask some of these, and I think they're NPCs sometimes, when you ask some of the NPCs or people who are just totally just lost in the sauce, you didn't realize that was so off. Like, why would they have those two? And then it was pre-taped. Then there was an inverted cross because it was a Satanist Bible. He put his hand. Listen, this simulation is like Resident Evil meets Silent Hill meets like the Hunger Games. And then they were wearing the Hunger Games outfits. It's off the chain. Listen, they got the banks closing down. Food is fake. The whole sky is raining plastic and metal all over the place. You got a fake pandemic. Bioweapons, putting them in shots, people thinking it's real. It's like the best video game ever. If you see it as a video game, this might go down as one of the hardest, most challenging, but most fun and most illuminating. If you aren't going to be bored with this finale, y'all. Listen, I'm thinking the finale is going to be off the chain because we got pole shift too, okay? So you got all this going on the same time. Now you got to be careful because remember, you gained a certain amount of skill set. And if you're still kind of receding to old patterns of behavior, it's going to be really difficult for you to make it through the finale. It's like that last scene in the last part of Resident Evil, when the nemesis comes and you got a timer and that mother freaker got a tongue popping out his mouth. He got all kinds of things shooting out his arms. He looks like he just came out of a test tube and like took like extra steroids just to buff him up to scare you. Then you got to make it to the plane on time. It's going to be off the chain. So you can't be playing around with NPCs. You have to have much more spiritual discernment and also have enough motivation to move forward so that you aren't stuck into another cycle and have to repeat this sucker over again in another incarnation and have to go through the cycle again until it ends and there's another finale. Okay? So this in itself, You need to identify what is real and what isn't as far as beings are concerned. Because really in itself, if we take the concept that when you step in the game, there's only a few of you that are real. Bliss is another good show. Bliss is another good show where it kind of talks about you're in a video game. And remember, what's her name, recognized another character that was real. She was like, you're real. She was like, you're real. And she recognized there was another real character in there. And remember they were playing bums? They had a place outside and they were sleeping outside. And in their real world, they were scientists that were sleeping in a cryo system where they were with this big brain in the middle, and they were entering into the simulated world. And in the simulated world, they were the lowest. That's why I tell you, be careful, because those who are perceived to be the highest, the richest, remember they said it's hard to get to heaven when you have a block of gold. Okay? Those who are living really well in the simulation, it's because, or if they haven't compromised themselves. If they haven't compromised themselves, like you got Sean Combs, you got people that are just, you know, using butt plugs. Did you guys nobody contacted Rabbi Smooly for me. Please contact Rabbi Smooly and tell him I want to order butt plugs for all my friends to help everybody's relationship, because he said it's going to help people's relationship, and maybe people start having anal sex if there's a butt plug in there. Anyway, just FYI. But you have a lot of people in here, you know, they're showing you all of this wealth. You see Kim Kardashian, you see all of these beings who are living in opulence and wealth, and they're engaged in the most diabolical and savage and most depreciative behavior to uphold it. You know what I mean? So in itself, you have to realize that if you want to hold a certain position of wealth and a higher, in the highest hierarchy here, there would already be a compromise. You're probably the lowest on the other side, okay? The ones who are being attacked the most are probably the highest level. So remember I told you, like Pac-Man, at the beginning of Pac-Man when you play, I know I use this example all the time. Forgive me, because that's what I know, okay? So Pac-Man, you know when you play Pac-Man, right? At the beginning of the game, you go and play the game and you're eating all the cherries. There's no ghost really. It's like one ghost, you can get away with him. The level's so easy. You're like, yo, this is the bomb. Second level, it's like, I could get through it. It's a little bit, I got to do a little maneuvering. But I'm still getting cherries. I'm still getting points. I'm still able to maneuver and get away from the ghosts. Then you start getting in the hardest and highest levels. And now you could barely get a cherry. God darn it. If you can, the ghosts are everywhere. You can't even get a break. You can't relax. You're all over the place. Oh, let me give DJ's in the house. Okay, hold on. DJ, I gotta give you some powers. Wait, oh, goodness gracious. DJ, Lisa, is that you? Wait, hold on. Lisa, is that you? DJ Velasquez? Let me know if that's you. I'm gonna give you some powers if that's you. So basically in itself, you're gonna have to pay attention to everything right now, because once you start getting into the harder layers, all of your skill set, everything that you've earned starts to come into play. And if you were lazy, oh no, okay, DJ, sorry, I thought you were Lisa. Thank you, DJ. Everything that you've learned, everything that you've gained in wisdom, skill set, tools that you've accrued in the past video games of your incarnations, it's all gonna come up in the finale. Are you still going to do the same thing? Are you still going to be complicit with people and not set healthy boundaries? That could be something that you will get in your finale, because that's part of something that you should have gained wisdom with and earned a certain layer of wisdom, so that you aren't going to be complicit and complacent and stay too long in one place with people that are constantly challenging your boundaries. Okay? And in the finale, it's not going to just be like they're challenging your boundaries. They're basically kicking you in the face while your boundaries are being sacrificed, while you're not upholding to your position of self-worth and self-mastery. So it's not going to be like the lower levels like before, when they just kind of excuse my language, pussyfoot around, right? It's gonna be a little different. This time it's gonna be like, mother freaker, you let that mother freaker, he's basically gonna be punching you in your eye. You're gonna be walking around with a bloody eye. And it's gonna be present and it's gonna be embarrassing. It's worse because it's the finale. That's what you were supposed to learn with the softer lessons in the first initiations in you coming into the simulation. Are you going to be complicit in seeing things happen and be silent and sit without standing on your square saying, well, I won't be a participant in this because I know morally and ethically it is wrong? Are you going to have sex of mass destruction and let demons and incubus and succubus suck your energy out, or input their dark demons inside of your womb or your wand because you're bored and you have nothing else to do? Are you going to eat foods that you know are harmful to your body, knowing very well that you might be sitting on the toilet for 40 hours or dealing with bloating, inflammation, sickness, colds, phlegm, because it just tastes good and you're used to doing it? Are you going to sit complicitly in an area where you know that the city you're living in is compliant to diabolical agendas? They're pushing Satanism in your schools. The children in your school are all high, drunk, and stenad, and basically they're influencing your child to act just like them. Are you going to do that? Okay? So in it itself, there's going to be a lot of challenges, and those are the base levels. We're not going to talk about the pole shift, where within the realm of the pole shift, you have to use your inner perimeter, your inner GPS to feel when it's time to move forward and to migrate out of those areas because you feel it. Are you going to ignore it and sit there and be a byproduct of the victim of all of these weather modifications, because now where it used to be dry, it's flooding. Where it used to be perfectly sunny, now it's raining and cloudy all the time? Or are you going to stay somewhere where Billy Bob, the eugenicist of the year, Billy Gates, who is basically like Bill Gates, B is a 13, ill, Gates. Okay, are you gonna sit there with his modified pooping cicadas, which have mold coming out their butts? And the mold is the one for the next, listen y'all, the zombies are in the butts of the cicadas. That's what that's our concept right now. I know it sounds crazy, but we did this whole thing on Zoom. Cicadas shoot 10 feet of urine out their backsides, 10 feet projectile. And just like the other insects, I didn't know this until we kind of studied all this. That mold of mass destruction, remember where I told you the mold is going to be what causes the next fungi infection, mass destruction, the pandemic? So now you've got projectile mold shooting out the butt, okay? And then it's going to be how many billion? Because remember, cicadas aren't harmful in themselves. They're actually very interesting to see, very passive. But remember, this is a simulation and it's all a cylindrical pattern. It is the same thing. It's using the Bible, all these biblical books, because all of them are just basically blueprints. The Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the whatever the Hindus watch, the Satanist book, it's all a blueprint. Some of you only get parts of it. If you put all the books together, you get all what they're gonna do in the simulation, okay? All of it is saying that remember, this is Africa. If you're in America, we are living in Egypt. We are in ancient Babylon, okay? And because of that, they're going to play the script, because nothing is new here. The script is that this is going to be, in order for us to leave and do the exodus out of Egypt, there's going to be a pandemics, there's going to be pestilence with, it wasn't cicadas before, it was with the locusts. But this, remember I told you when they do updates, it may be the same thing, but different kind of insects. So now it's gonna be the cicadas with the mold in their butts, okay? So now it's gonna be that. And then there's going to be a battle with your government against your will, making sure that your bank accounts are dry. You know, you saw that young lady, 44,000 melanated woman, worked, she had $44,000 in her account. Someone hijacked it. It's probably the bankers taking the money. I could be wrong, it's my opinion. I'm just saying a lot of times it's an inside job. Took her $44,000, and you know they're supposed to cover for your money, right? And guess what? They didn't cover for it. So now she's out the money, okay? They won't recover it, and she's crying online. But that is just a warning to you, because that's part of the video game. The video game gives you clues, like in Resident Evil, right before something's about to go down, you get this weird kind of news, like a television will turn on in a room and it'll say, oh, the pandemic, Umbrella, this is what they did, blah, 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 blah. But that's the clues. It's telling you, do not trust anyone with your hard-earned fiat. Because if you do, they keep telling you, they gave you warnings when you keep your loot up in there. I'm just telling you, I'm not saying you should keep it on you, but I'm telling you, you trust in third parties that don't have integrity, and they busted. The banks are busted. All your money is going to Ukraine, Israel, all these other places, and it's basically, you know, I told you, the end is here for United Figs. This is the finale. It's going to be the big boom bang, okay? They gave you all the movies. They gave you all the warnings, and if you're complicit and you ignore it, then you too, unfortunately, could be a victim of what that young lady went through. Okay? So I'm just saying, and you got to watch NPCs, because NPCs they're interactive sometimes. Some NPCs will sit there and they're just meant to fill space. They're not really meant to interface with you because they're not main characters, right? So they're not really meant to say anything or initiate anything or to motivate you. They're just there. And then there are NPCs that are specific main characters that basically are meant to give you a clue, remind you of something, motivate you to do something, and then you move forward. Okay? We don't even know how many of these simulated characters could be biobots, because remember, we talked about syntheticas. You know, I don't know. I'm thinking the whole Westworld theory, we might not only have simulated people, because it's hard to keep a simulation going, especially when you have all of these types of electrical disturbances in the sky around this time, and a lot of weather, different kind of weather issues. So I think they do have some fillers that might be bioborgs, some sort of synthetica that looks human. We talked about years ago, it was on the show, it was on Coast to Coast. Many of you watched Coast to Coast. This was with Art Bell. And I remember he had a guy who was on, and he was talking about, and you hear me tell this story all the time. He was on, this guy called in the show, and he said he was in England, he was in UK on the, what do they call it? They don't call it the train, they call it the tube? Did they call it the tube? I forgot what he called. He called it something. It's like the tube. What do they call it in England? The trains, like the tube? Do you know what they call it? Is it the tube? I think it's the tube. He was on the tube. It doesn't matter. Okay. Tram. I don't think it's a tram, though. Is it they call it the tram? Okay. The tube. I think they call it the tube. Okay. Okay. So he was on the tube. And he was sitting there. He was in this car, and everything was really eerie. He felt like an eerie kind of feeling when he sat on this train. So he sat down, and the person next to him was reading a paper. But he noticed when he kind of looked through his peripheral, the person's ear around here had strings, like kind of like, you know, when you sew something, but it kind of pulls out, like strings around here, kind of pulled out. And they were just like not really reactive reading the newspaper. And then other people he noticed were like really pasty looking, like very unnatural looking. And he couldn't call it because it was so odd. And he sat there just looking at people, and he kept saying to himself, he thought it was going crazy. And again, I don't remember the exact, this is what I think I can kind of remember from what he said. And he said, then the train stopped at the next stop. And as soon as the bell, you know, that bell, ding, ding, all of them stood up like toy soldiers at once. Every last one of them on that specific car, that one car, stood up like toy soldiers and marched out together in unison. You can't tell me, how many years ago was that show? Maybe 20 years ago? So you're telling me that was like a beta test to see if they can get away with having these bioengineered robotoids walking around with people to see if people would notice. And remember, there was a homegirl who told us about the NPC, the robotoids, the syntheticas that were over in North Carolina. They had a whole town with like simulated people, no, robotoid, like Westworld people. And it was the male guy who noticed that every time he went to this town, the people were like robots. So we found out that there was a beta test of a town in North Carolina where there were synthetic robotoid beings, and it was basically a beta test. They will beta test these types of robots, and when they show you the busted robots online, like they'll say, oh, they'll show them with like nothing, like part of their arm is not really on, but the face is real. They do that purposefully with us because they don't want you to know that that's the least of the ones that they have. So it makes you think that they're not up to par with the technology that has robotoids and syntheticas that look real. They want you to think that that's the best of their technology, but it's actually them punking you, putting out a busted one, the lowest form of it, so that you don't think they're up to standards, and having super technology with these robotoids that you don't even know. I mean, God darn it, you could be having sex. They probably beta test people with prostitutes. If I was a mad scientist, a eugenicist, Molachian Satanist, and I wanted to beta test my mad scientist, experiments to see if they could get away and people wouldn't know the difference, I would put them in children that were children that are basically like adopted children or foster children, put them in a house and see if people notice. And then I would also put them as prostitutes and see if people would notice anything when they're having sex with them, they're giving them blowjobs, whatever the case is. I'm just saying, if I was a mad scientist, I would see if they could get away in that kind of insidious kind of environment, because I told you, anytime that we're doing hybrids and basically putting hybrids out there like Cabbage Patch Children, hybridized test tube babies, they would put them in the foster care, put them in people's houses to see how they would adjust to being in a household with people. That's my opinion. I'm not saying all foster children are bioborgs or hybrids, but I know for what I know is that they would put these hybrid children in scenarios to see how well adjusted. And then, how many cases do you hear that these hybrid children probably end up killing the other children, hurting them, doing stuff? They quiet it, they expunge the information online and keep it moving, and upgrade the kind of genomes they use for the child. Like, basically clear it and do it again. Okay? So right now, you're seeing the end of the simulation. The finale is off the charts. I mean, we got the pole shift going, World War III. Now, let me explain something, y'all. If you really think that these wars are real, I just would ask you to think to yourself, these mother freakers are all in bed with each other. They're all cousins, kissing cousins, Satanists. They go to the same lodge. They have sex and orgies together. Do you really think that they're at war with one another? No, they're sitting in a room, drinking their cognac warm, or sitting there, putting a chessboard down, joking about how they're going to basically set up the final stage of this simulation. Okay? Because we do have beings here that are real beings that are basically maniacs. They don't want to leave the simulation. They've done so much dirt here. They're not able to ascend. So they basically are like the Mad Hatters of this realm. Those are the Molachians, the DEROS, the ones with the big noses that own all the banks and all the, all the music companies and stuff like that. Those are DEROS, okay? Those are subterranean type of beings here that kind of took over. They're in every society. Do you really think that Iran at the top isn't ran by the same people on the top of Israel, that are ran at the same people at the top of United Fakes, or ran at the same people at the top of Australia, ran at the same people at the top of Canada? Do you really think that they're different? This is what I'm saying. Like when you're sitting here saying white hats, black hats, Democrats, left and rights, you are just playing into the duality that is basically a scam. They're dry humping you. They're dry humping your consciousness because it doesn't exist. They're all playing the same game. They all plan this, okay? They're all in bed together. That's why before the whole thing happened in Israel on October 7th, what did America do? It gave Iran money. It unblocked money and billions of money so that it could fund something. Come on, y'all. Come on, just be a little, use more of your clairaudient, your sensory. Use a little bit more of your brain power. They're all in bed. There's no such thing as the enemy to them. They're all at the top. It's a very small, minuscule group of people. They're all in bed. Okay? October 7th was a setup, just like 9/11 was a setup, just like what happened in Palestine is a setup, and what's happening with Iran is a setup. It's all ran by the same Molachian, DEROS, big-nosed mother freakers who sit here and like to hybrid with really other people so they can hide themselves. Okay? Once you understand it's the same people, beings, entities that are running the script, running along with AI because they have to go along with the blueprint. So they know the blueprint because these mother freakers have been looping and they've chosen to be in the sub-tier of the earth while it goes through the simulated reconstruction after the resets. They know what the blueprint is. So they just play along with it and they kind of add their own component to what's going on. So instead of you saying, oh, the Democrats, the Republicans, the left, the right, Black Lives Matter. There's no such thing as all the same mother freakers. They run all of it. So I'm just saying, be mindful because this is all part of the blueprint. This is what they were leading up to. This is a game, y'all. This is the end. It's a finale. Know that this is all AI instituted. It is all a loop. If we read all the historical, biblical, religious jargon and put all the books together, it's going to tell you what's going to happen. It's a program. The program loops. It's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing again. The end always happens the same way. If you're reincarnated again and go through the reincarnation cycle and then end up at reset again, you're going to see the same thing again, just different faces maybe because they got better bioborgs. Maybe they have different updates, but it's always going to be the same scenario. So they're basically going to set the whole exodus. Listen, the banks are already empty. Your money's not really there. I don't know why you would trust these demons, you work, you pay taxes on the money you work for. Then you pay taxes at the grocery store. Then you pay taxes again. After you just pay taxes, you got to pay taxes again. Like that's called, what is it called? It's you're being robbed. By choice, okay? And anybody who's independent, who's trying to do their gig on the side, listen, when they saw the drug dealers making money, what did they do? They just basically put it under their in their pockets. They took the whole weed, marijuana, diabolically made it with dispensaries. And the dispensary marijuana has all of the Magellans and nano in it. Like you think that the kill shot was worse? You got all the young people smoking with those artificial cigarettes, those electric cigarettes, what are they called? Those cigarettes, electric cigarettes with all that chemical in it. What's it called? What are those cigarettes, vaping? You got young people vaping all the chemicals up in their lungs, going to dispensaries all over, perpetuating it to children. Why do you have them with pop rockets, lollipops? Why are you making it for children? Why don't you have it with mature types of things like cognac or vodka or something that's adult or related to adult behavior? It's all promoted to children. You got 13-year-olds. Listen, I don't know what's going to happen with the babies. Listen, Sweetie Tooth, whatever that show is, you got young girls ruining their eggs. And you got people now promoting all of these shops, these dispensaries. Listen, anybody who's promoting drug use right now, they are the devil. Anyone who's promoting going to dispensaries, using drugs, or drinking all the time, they're the devil. There's no such thing as organic dispensary weed. It has a glossiness on it, like a shine on it, because it's got all kinds of nanoparticulate on it, and it's geoengineered, so it's the worst of the worst. This is not grown in the jungle. This is not heirloom seeds. You can't even buy a dime bag with seeds anymore. It smells like something out of a biopharmacy, and this is what they're promoting to children, okay? And all the while, they know that it lessens your immune system. It makes you more susceptible for infiltration for entities. So it's perfect timing for the finale. Because by the time you get to this point in the finale, if you high and drunk, you already lost the game. It's going to be real difficult for you to make it to, because you have to have all your wits. You're going to have to have really strong immune system. Listen, I mean, you're going to have to really, they got the music with the low frequency driving your root, making you want to stick your wand inside of an anal cavity with poop. I mean, if that's not the lowest, I don't know what is. When people are justifying sticking a wand and poop in their butts and then lying on the bed and making jokes about having skid marks on their bed, I've never seen that before. I haven't ever in my life saw a justification of promoting that before. Have you seen that? I've just never seen that, because having anal sex lowers your immune system. It actually weakens your anal muscles to where you have to either get it sewn up, or I heard, which is really disgusting, they put tampons up their butts. That's why I'm asking Rabbi Smuley for help. Rabbi Smuley, we need the butt plugs. We need to give them out to the anal perpetrators. Because now we thought it was just a holographic president pooping all over the place. They're basically now you got young boys engaged in this kind of lifestyle, and it's okay, because now remember, they did this whole anal tantric ritual by showing women's butts only, and then they're doing all of this butts BBLs, and they look like ant people, right? This BBLs, they don't even look natural. Women always had nice bum bums, whether they were slender. It matched their bodies. Now they look like insects. I'm thinking it's the insectillions that are pushing this agenda. They look like bugs. Who wants a bug butt? I'm just saying. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me take a moment. I see this is why they took me off YouTube before. Let me apologize. Let me apologize. I've gone too far. I just blame it on this ad. I'm just saying, yo. When someone, women of a certain age, come on, everybody, men of a certain age, women of a certain age, we know of people who used to have anal sex, women and men, and I know when they get older, they cannot hold their poop in their butt. They cannot. How come nobody's telling you that? They're telling you, oh, you don't want to talk about people having anal sex. Oh, that's so prejudiced. But how come you're not giving them the fun facts that if you're having anal sex, they're like, oh, well, women's yonis are meant to push out babies and go right back to size. When I gave birth to my babies, my yoni went right back. I had elasticity down there. That sucker pushed out a whole 8-pound baby, and it went right back to source. Okay? So you don't compare an anal cavity to a yoni that was anticipating that kind of engagement. Why you would think it's in the same thing? If I'm pooping out my vagina, certainly I wouldn't put anything sexual in there. Anyway, let me go on to the NPCs. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. Stop promoting things that are harmful to our young people. Stop promoting things, because that in itself is encouraging, and also you lose points in the holographic simulation. It's not that you have to, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, I understand. But in promoting it, and if you know better, you do better. There isn't anybody who can be conscious who's engaged in that low Satanist behavior. Absolutely not. If someone is engaged in any sort of poop and sexuality, that is a Satanist ritual. There's no consciousness there. They cannot be eating well. And then big up to Daryl. He was telling me that this, the reason why some people may be eating well while they're engaged in that is because they don't want the smell down there. Okay, so that could be the reason. That's something you have to be careful. So moms, you need to talk to your young people, and especially boys. And they need to be able to tell the difference between a real girl and a boy. Okay? Because yonis that are organic do not look like yonis that are artificially constructed. And gentlemen, if you can't see what's down there and you can't recognize it, it's because it's not real. Some of you don't even care because you're so high and leaned up on all the synthetic drugs and all the Mogellans, all up in the synthetic the dispensaries. You don't think it's by chance they brought up all these dispensaries at the time when we're about to go through a shift? Perfect timing. So now you basically get rid of a whole bunch of people and lower their immune system and take them out of the playing field. So there's only a few real players at the end in the finale. I guess it's kind of purposeful, right? I guess it is. If you are already, and listen, y'all, we're not talking about back in the days when people used to smoke blunts and what else? And what is it called? Spliffs, blunts, joints, right? Joints. It's been a while. That's from back in the days. It's different. You're walking in a realm of demonic possession. I mean, you are being overrun. Listen, it's not even people doing drugs. You got to be careful because you got a whole field of food that's being infiltrated all over the place. You've got fake food now. They're making fake apples and watermelon. I mean, you don't even know. You've got in the cashews, you got worms in the cashews. Y'all, I mean, this is the point where being as limited with food and trying to be as, I would say, not breatharian, but I say, God darn it, the air is even toxic. And try to be as holistic as possible and vetting everything out. You're going to have to, because this is the finale. And I told you, I personally think the pole shift happens in 2025. I could be wrong, but I'm going with it. 2025, I'm looking at their play, the simulated holographic simulation called Earth. I'm seeing how they're playing everything. It looks kind of like we are in that finale time. And once the war starts, the pole shift is right around the corner. So if you know that World War III is there, that means that the pole shift is right there. Once you see Mount Pelée and Mount Helen, what is it? No. What is it? Is it Mount Helen or is it Mount Pelée is from my island, Martinique. What's the other one? Is it Mount Ellen? I think it's Mount Helen. I forgot the other one. Once those two go off at once, that means the pole shift is seconds or minutes away. Okay? I'm just saying, y'all, it's going to be very difficult to be able to run. Listen, some of us chunkies, you can only say you had a baby so soon. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's been a while. So pregnancy is not an excuse for me anymore. I'm gonna have to make it. So remember, it's the end of the game. I may have to run. I gotta at least make it. Back in the days, you Mount Everest. Thank you. It could be. Listen, yo. Like at the end of the game, you gotta do that training. Like how? Like I can't. You know what I'm saying? I gotta strap these suckers in, my boobies in, strap them in, put the bug out bag on. I may have to run, scoot, climb under. I gotta be in shape. I'm just saying, before, you could kind of be like a fat cat, chilling out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Chilling. Right now, we in the whole simulation at the end of the finale, having too much fat around the waist. That sucker could, listen, that could hold you back. So I don't talk to you. I'm talking to the choir. Listen, we all gonna have to get this finale. 2025 is when I think the poll should. Don't listen. You listen to these people telling you, "Oh, it's 2040." They're making you complicit. Be careful, because some people are here. If someone has a big enough platform and they're telling you that the time is further out, that is the simulation. AI is allowing them to say that because it makes you complicit. If you think you have until 2040, you're not gonna really work hard. You thinking you're gonna have time. I'm telling you, I see what's going. I'm telling 2025 is what I'm seeing. I could be wrong, but if I'm right, we gonna have we gonna have to get it together. You know what I'm saying? You got to be ready to hold it, stay still, move it, whatever skill set we need. You know, listen, if it's a food issue, one thing I say is being a little thicker is a benefit in that way, because if I stop eating for 30 days, it's not like somebody who weighs 120 stop eating for 30 days. You understand? So me being a little thicker at the end of the day could be a benefit, as long as it isn't unhealthy. You know what I mean? You know, thick doesn't mean unhealthy, but if you are having other issues like, you know, circulatory issues, blood pressure, those are all issues. So those have to be addressed, and that could be weight based. But if you have a little thickness on you, 30 days you could not eat so your children can eat, that's a benefit. If you know that there's not enough to go around, because some of these other mother freakers, after they get the mold out of the butts of the cicadas and they turn into the fungi people, the next pandemic is going to have the brain fungus. And they're probably going to go around biting people. Did you see The Last of Us? I mean, it's the fungus. I personally think it's going to be a mold virus. I actually think it's already here. Thanks to Rudolph of Germany talking about the next thing was going to affect the brain. But how do you get a zombie? You put a mold, you know, watch the zombie snails and the zombie ants, y'all. Remember the zombie? It's really disgusting. I don't want to don't make the children watch that. I don't know. Maybe they can handle it. It's really gross. Oh, I get skeeves. I get skeevy every time I look at that video. But it's a good detail because it hijacks one of the ants. It goes in the butt. I talked about the butt worms. I'm telling you, clean out your butts. Y'all need to do anti-parasites all over the place. And some of you who are engaged in butt tantric rituals, you need to do it more. Because then you'll stop wanting to do butt rituals, because the parasite in your butt will be gone. That video is why I took it down. You got to be careful. Okay? They got everything infiltrated. You got to wash everything. You don't know if it's real if you're growing it. If you grow it outside under the sky where they have chemtrails, it's getting all over your soil. It's leaching into your plants. I mean, number one thing is you should be living somewhere where there isn't any chemtrails. In order for you to be somewhat clean, and I'm not talking about like all the food is clean everywhere where there isn't chemtrails, but in order for you to be somewhat clean, if you want to grow your own food, you got to be out of a country that has chemtrails. That's number one. Part of the rules is if you have grown your vegetables anywhere where it's touching soil that's been perpetually chemtrailed, it is already tainted. That's my suggestion. Then when you get out of those countries, then you got to make sure you get really good, healthy heirloom seeds that are not from the United States. Remember back in the days, we wanted to buy everything from the United States because it was the only thing that we knew was clean. It was like, oh, made in the US. It was like it authenticated things. No, made in the US now means that's the killer. Anything made in the US, I say to myself, I might take a chance going and buying something from Mexico. Because I don't trust anything. These mother freakers are trying to kill everybody. All the food. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen where they would justify having synthetic, modified, homogenized food and think it was okay to sell it as edible or eatable, you know, as food source. That's not a country that loves you. If a country loves its people and it's protecting of its people, it wouldn't let a whole bunch of sleeper cells in its country unvetted. You got mother freakers coming in the country. We don't even know if they're not bioborgs. These could be freaking Terminators. How are we gonna verify? If you have a whole bunch of Terminators coming in the country, are you at the border verifying if they're real? Did you watch Terminator? The German shepherds had to tell if these were machines or not. I'm just saying, how do you verify that the being's coming in here? So you got Terminators coming over the border. They giving all your cash to strangers. Remember, our parents had to come in the country. They had to pay a lot of money, had to verify, had to take tests, and even then, they had to wait years to be able to be a U.S. citizen. This motherfreaker's letting everybody in. He's letting Santa Claus in, Krampus in, the Scrooge is up in this piece. You got all kinds of aliens and Martians coming through. Everything's coming through the borders. Nothing's vetted. And they're giving them all your cash, all your tax money that you pay for, that you shouldn't have to pay because taxes is illegal, okay? FYI. You giving them all your tax money so these motherfreakers can have free medical, free housing, while you are barely able to get an organic peach for $6. Okay? My suggestion for the finale, you got all of us. I'm talking to the choir here. We have to have some healthy nutrition to be able to overcome the butt fungus mold of mass destruction that is going to be the next pandemic. Because once they close the borders, because you know that's part of what they do, once they close the borders, it's a wrap because all of the United States is chemtrailed. Can I get a witness here? Can anyone tell me if there's any state that you live in now that they don't do chemtrails in the United States? Only people from the United States. If you have a state that isn't being chemtrails, can you put it in here, please? I just want to know. Anybody live in a state that isn't getting chemtrails daily in the United States? I just want to know, because maybe I don't want to say something that could be wrong. Tell me the state, if you live in a state that has 0 chemtrails, 0, please put the name of the state. Okay, so Sabrina says Nevada. Nevada doesn't have chemtrails. Tennessee just passed a law against chemtrails. Okay, Al said Tennessee passed the law, but do they still have chemtrails? All of them, nope, okay. Yeah, I know Nevada, because we have friends in Nevada. They get chemtrails. Okay. Nevada's loaded with chemtrails. Okay, heavy chemtrails. Okay. I mean, there used to be states, remember, not many in Vermont, but it has to be none. Because it's just like saying there's a little bit of poison or a lot. To me, a little bit of poison every day for 20 years, that's a lot of poison. You understand? It's all relative. Wisconsin has them. Yeah. It's everywhere. I just wanted to ask if anyone didn't have chemtrails. Okay? Okay. Tennessee just banned chemtrails, but, you know, do they still have chemtrails? Hawaii, okay, Hawaii, I don't remember seeing chemtrails. Can someone verify, does Hawaii get chemtrails, y'all? Anyone from Honolulu, Kauai, Maui, or the Big Island? Anyone from Hawaii in here? Do you guys get chemtrails in Hawaii? I don't remember seeing in Hawaii. Let's see. Oahu? Okay. I don't remember seeing it. Do you live in Oahu? Is there no chemtrails in Hawaii? Hawaii's really, really clean. That's why all of the bunkers are over there. That's why they stockpiling the children under the ground. Just understand that when you're in Hawaii, they're stockpiling children like tasty cakes underneath the ground. And it's sad. I'm not making light of it, but that could be why. Hawaii, no. Okay, I think Hawaii doesn't have it. No expensive Navy. Hawaii is so expensive. Okay. All right, none in Hawaii. I don't remember seeing it. Yeah, in Kauai. Okay. Okay, so I think Hawaii might be the only one, and that's the one that has the highest, you know, when I look at places to move, I look at places that have the highest lifespan. So when you're thinking about countries to move to, look at the lifespan. And I think, you know, with our African diaspora, people going into the African diaspora, you really have to pay attention to that. Because I used to say to people, it was a young lady online who made me aware of this. So it wasn't really me. She made me aware that this was important, because if you go into country, the highest lifespan for Americans is always in Hawaii. Like they have the highest lifespan. Like it's like in the, you know, late 80s and 90s. Okay, so there's a reason for that, but now that we realize there's not any chemtrails, and also, you know, all of the dark Kabbalists, all of them have their bunkers building over there, and they've been stealing the children. I don't know if many of you realize, over the last 7 years, a lot of the children were missing in Hawaii. Okay, and the children were missing, and it was a big deal for a long time. Anyone who lives in Hawaii, was that something big? Because I don't know of Oahu, but I know definitely in like Maui and Kauai, there was an issue. Okay, but it's very clean. When I'm in Hawaii, it's clean, but that could be why they make it very expensive. That's why they deter people from coming there, right? Okay. Okay, so whenever you move somewhere, for those going into the African diaspora, please check the country you're going into, because we had some sea stars going into the Gambia, and they did not check the lifespan. The lifespan, the average lifespan, the highest lifespan, and when you look at it, you can verify, because I think I remember it as 55. 55 years old was like 55 to like 60 maybe. Someone verify that for me. I think it was like 55 to 60. Don't bank me. It's in that range though. And a lot of people who are going from America and UK were dying. And they were dying when they got there because they were leaving their country from the United States very sickly and going into a country where its lifespan wasn't high. So when you do that, you got to understand, if you go into the Gambia and you're 50 and you're going to a place where the African people who have African bodies, who have that kind of phenotype, are dying at that age, I would question you going there. Okay? I wouldn't go somewhere where the lifespan is very low. You got to pay attention to that. And if you go into a lot of places, you don't realize the lifespan is not that high, and you're coming with a deficit because our bodies are not as strong anymore, because we've been inundated with chemtrails, chemicalized food, vaccines, which I rebuke. I didn't say that. That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm a comedian, whatever. We've have all those things over here, and you go in countries, even if it's a healthier environment, you're still going with a deficit. So you got to go places where it's higher medical, like United States is like 66. You go into like South America, I mean, Colombia has better medical than us. Brazil has better medical than us. Freaking Ecuador, Argentina has better medical than us. Chile has better medical than us. I mean, forget Europe. Europe is highways ahead of us, okay? So when you start going into places that are being, that are lesser in medical or lesser in health. Now, I'm not saying you should have to go to the doctor when you go abroad, but I'm just saying to you, it would behoove you to go to a place where everything's higher than where you're coming from. Canada has better medical than us. I'm just saying, when you go places, I prefer to go to places to go to dentists. I went to the dentist in Brazil. It was inexpensive. I got I have great medical here, great dental, went to Brazil, got one of my crowns fell off. Crown, even with good medical, you come out of pocket $400. I went there, out of pocket, it was like, no, that was for the filling. It was like $50 for a porcelain crown. I'm just saying, you know, had a friend who went over to Eastern Europe, had a whole surgery, workup and everything. It was $800. No, that was in Vietnam. $800. I'm just saying, we're really being robbed here, and we get poor treatment, and your doctors will tell you to be on time at your appointment, and then they could be late taking you in. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. We pay in doctors too much money to have the ability to be really subpar. Okay? Not saying all doctors, but I'm just saying it's not the same. I'm not saying every country is great, but when you look at how you get treated abroad, I say take this party to a non-chemtrail place and try to make it there. It used to be the place to be. This is not. So let's get back into NPCs, because I don't want to talk about that. But when we're talking about the final frontier, or the finale of this video game we call Earth Simulation, the Molachian realm. The Molachians is like, if you don't know who I'm talking about the the big nose DEROS that come from a I personally think they're subterranean. I could be wrong, but they act like the subterranean DEROS that came up here. They were really diabolical looking. They look really funky. They look like not elves, like dwarfs. They look like the dwarfs, like very kind of bulbous faces, big noses, very non-attractive, what we perceive as human beings to be non-attractive. They've made themselves a way, and they control all political systems. They control all the banks, all of the news, all of social media. They control all of the Middle East. They're in control of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, Dubai, Egypt, Israel, where else? What did I say? Jordan. Not Syria, though, because they bombing the heck out of Syria. Because of those, I think it's because the Anunnaki, those big giant beings are underneath the ground. So I think they bombing the heck out of them because of them giants underneath the ground. Iraq, they control, no, I don't think they're trying to control Iraq again. Anywhere where the giants are, they can't really get a handle of. So that's why they do the red heifer. Because remember, that's the only ones who got rid of, in Eastern Europe, who got rid of these DEROS. The DEROS were overcome and thrown out of parts of the Caucasus. What is those mountains called? The Caucasus Mountains. The Caucasus Mountains. They were thrown out of there. That's where they came in, over by the Mongolian. I think the Mongolian mountains over there. I think so. Don't quote me on that. But they were thrown out by the red-headed giants. Okay, those DEROS. And they have some resentment. Remember, they don't get over everything. They always gonna get you back. You know, they act like Scorpios. Scorpios will always get you back. Listen, I love some Scorpios, but y'all are the most vindictive mother freakers. You will hold that. You will get us back at one point. So they act like Scorpios. So that's why I think they burn the red heifers, because it's a ritual to basically, and I don't think it's cows that they burn, y'all. I think they show us cows. I really think they got the hybrids. They may have some of the babies or the red heifers, the red females, the red-headed females. I think that they actually could be killing red-headed females, murdering them. And they tell you it's a red cow, but really on the back, like, because it's a ritual. They show you one head, one face, and on the back end, they're probably burning a red-headed female, a red heifer, which is a female. So they show you the cows, and really in the back end is probably red-headed females to go and do a ritual against the red-headed giants that kick their butts and kick them out of the Caucasus Mountains and move them into Ukraine. That's where they were gonna go again, y'all. They setting up. No, the DEROS weren't giants. The DEROS were those subterranean, really disgusting, deranged, big nose beings from like parts of like sub-tier of Earth, like inside. Yeah, no, the giants are something else. I'm talking about the giants the red-headed giants got rid of the DEROS, and the DEROS forcibly raped. They have a form of mind control, and they were able to overcome, like put their mind, they're really disgusting though. They're like, you ever see Dune? Anybody watch Dune, y'all? You watched Dune before, anybody? Dune? If you ever watch Dune, you know those creatures, like what is he called? Oh God, what is he called? The Baron, right? Big, disgusting, like that, like Jabba the Hutt kind of, right? Like Jabba. You know, I think Jabba is kind of the same being that the Baron is. Do you guys think that's the same being? I think it might be the same being. Maybe they kind of switched it around a little bit, but I think Jabba the Hutt and that particular Baron are the DEROS. I think that's the DEROS, okay? And that's who is running this. It doesn't matter where you are. Right here in the United States, the DEROS are ruling. The Molachians, the Satanists, the Luciferians. It's all, well, maybe not the Luciferians. I think it's one and the same, but they're all at the top. They run all of the Middle East, which is basically Africa. They control everything. Congo, Haiti, anywhere where there's wars against people, and if they can't get control of it, they use their artificial monetary system that they created. That's what I'm saying. You can never benefit with the fiat because they created it. The fiat, they created it. So that's why when you use money, the more fiat you have in this country is the more they have control of you. That's why it's good if you get the fiat to create something with it. So as soon as you get I told you about, big up to the homeboy who mentioned Brewster's Millions. Because once he mentioned it, I was like, that's it. Make it into something tangible because it's all spelled. The people who touch the most money, United States, because it's all rituals and sigils on there. You ever see? It's like got aliens on it. It's got all of the Masons' language, Satanist, ritualistic kind of symbology on there. Once you touch it, it basically zests you. So the people, if you notice, the people who have the most issues and the most poverty are the people who touch money physically the most. The people who are wealthiest touch it the least. So the people wealthiest always have like a black card, something else, but they aren't touching the actual fiat because it's spelled. It's like you reading one of the Satanist books. Like if you touch these books, you zest yourself. They have spells on them. Okay. If you ever watch any of the movies about, Satanism, vampirism, or, forms of magic, once you touch these books, you automatically get zested. And depending on your frequency, it'll interface with you as you alchemically deserve. Okay. So that being said, it's good if it's like Brewster's Millions. If some of you never seen Brewster's Millions, I know we got some young people on here, go and see Brewster's Millions, y'all. Is basically if he had money, in order for him to get his inheritance, he had to spend, I think it was like $1 million something. I forgot how much it was. It was like $1 million something, and he had a certain period of time. My personal take from that is that once you get the fiat, which is spelled, you want to get rid of it, but get something tangible. Buy land, tangible, cash. I wouldn't buy it in the United States because they'll probably take it because they sold out the United States to all of these, the Chinese, the Xinhua own part of the United States. You got India that owns part of the United States. You got, that's why you're seeing all these Indian politicians coming in because they sold part of the United States to India because they wanted the technology. India has some of the best technology and they have time traveling and Stargate technology that they have patented. Most of you don't know India is ahead of the game technologically. So they sold, in order for them to get some of the, this was Daryl's, big up to Daryl. Daryl alerted us to this. In order for them to get some of this technology from India, they sold out us politically to them. That's why you're seeing all of these Indian people running for Kamala, from Kamala to, what's the guy, Vivek, the chick who says she's brown and she's not, it's because that was a contract they made with India. Okay, so now because they did that, they have to put Indians in political power in the United States. So they sold out United States to many different conglomerates. So that's why if you buy land in the United States, it isn't going to hold unless it's sovereign land. Maybe Texas, but I don't even know if Texas is sovereign anymore. It was supposed to be back to independent. As far as I know, they already went sovereign. But that depends. I wouldn't buy any land here because unless you go into India and buying the land, okay? Because it's just like with those Hasidite Jews who are selling land over in Palestine, even though Palestine is not theirs yet. So it's kind of like that. You got to be careful because you don't know who has purchased your geolocation. And if you purchase a land, all the Constitution doesn't hold anymore. There's no more free speech. There's no more holding arms. Those are all gone. The Constitution was forfeited it when they purchased it from another foreign entity. Okay? So all I'm saying, if you want to get some, I would get some somewhere else. It's my opinion. You don't have to listen to me, but I'm just saying. But like Brewster's Millions, if you hold in a lot of cash, like your 401k and all that stuff, I'm telling you right now, those motherfreakers, because they're killing people with pensions. I'm not, listen, it's my opinion. I'm mentally ill. Don't listen to me. I'm just a person whose father worked on Water Street my whole life in Wall Street. Don't listen to me because I could be mentally ill. But if I was a betting woman, I would say that they already gave all this money away. Where do you think they got that fiat from? They got it from people's 401ks. They got it from the pensions and the bank accounts where you can't verify that your money's there because it's phantom. As soon as you put it in, it disappears. It's like a magic trick. Okay? So I'm just saying, if you got it, Use it for something tangible, because then at that point, when it's into something physical, it's whether it's hard currency like gold and silver, it's harder because you have it. And if you got dough like that, the kind that folds, you need to take it and have it in your possession, because so long as you have it in a third party, that third party already sold you out. Just like I told people before, you guys are buying phantom gold, getting a certificate saying that they have it in the holding for you. When I went to my dealer, my silver dealer years ago, she was telling me that they were selling one paper for 10 people. So only one person, there was enough gold for one person, but they were selling 10 pieces of paper saying that one piece of gold was theirs too. Who's going to get the gold? If you can't touch it, feel it, bite it, tuck it, suck it, whatever the case is, it's not real. It's not real, okay? Once you put your dough into a Satanist institution, that sucker's fan of money. If they don't like you, if they don't like what you say, what are they going to do? They're going to hold your money. They're going to take it. They're going to do it like they did with that young lady. And what I noticed is that any sort of people that are independently or with a lot of cash that have more power, their money is disappearing or they're stopping them from making money. Okay? I'm just saying. And don't be under the illusion that, oh, because 11 lighters get mad at me. Oh, she's fear-mongering. Oh, FleurBrun, you're such a fear-mongering. Oh, my God. Think positive. Listen, part of being positive and more conscious is being aware where you have things that could be out of alignment with you. That's number one. Some people walk around and they don't want to hear what could be the case. So they want to walk in a landmine. If I say there's a landmine there, at least I'll alert you that it's there. What you want me to do is ignore it and wish it away and then it's still there. So I just let people walk into the landmine. If that's a fear-mongering thing, you need to leave the channel. Because you want to be a person who walks in a landmine. So you say you take full credit for that insidious kind of unawareness. I'm just letting you know there's landmines all over. I don't know where necessarily they are, but I have an inkling of where some may be. So awareness is part of being higher consciousness, being blinded or trying to think things away. Yes, this is an interactive video game, but also it's part of teaching you how to have better discernment, better choices, and to utilize them to make better moves. By knowing better, you do better. By having an awareness, you have better choices that you make. If you tell me that my boyfriend that I'm dating is a piece of work, you know that he's a swindler. He's stuck his wand in everything from a socket to a tree to a dog to a cat to a bird. You let me know that, then at that point, I can have better discernment in whether I want to interface with that character or not. But would you tell somebody? Don't tell her that. Oh, it's low vibrational. Don't tell her that. She doesn't need to know that. That is going to make her. So next thing you know, somebody gets a disease that they can't get rid of. They end up having a child with a narcissist. They end up having to be with someone who's totally nefarious and they don't know it. Which is right and wrong? Don't listen to these people telling you it's fear-mongering to tell you the truth. The problem is that you have these people set up by FBI, CIA, all of these institutions, listen, I told you on social media. On social media, they set up the left and the right, the white and the black. They set up the up and the down. They've got all of their people all set up into these different groups. So for every time you have someone who's telling you the truth, you're going to have people coming against them. Okay? Always, always. It's part of this realm. So be careful, because the CIA set up for so-called conscious people to sit there and distract you and to mislead you so that you're lost in the sauce. This is the finale, y'all. The best and the baddest are here. You got the best villains. You got the best heroes. Everything's coming up. It's beautiful and it's chaotic. It's like the most wonderful chaos that you will ever experience. If you have a body and you're a true soul and you're in this avatar by choice or by ranking, you are one of the best. There are beings who want to be you right now. There are beings who would give anything to be in a body at this point. Why give it away by doing drugs and making yourself more susceptible to things imprinting on you? I've never seen so much possession in my life. The drugs actually probably were created to make people more impressible so that things could actually get inside of them easier. It probably is. I think that dispensaries, personally, I think the dispensaries were created to allow that infestation easier to happen. You having pop rockets, lollipops, and then you got all these people saying they're conscious, promoting to use drugs. Anybody who's telling you to get high, mushrooms, dispensary weed, any drugs, alcohol, I don't care if you say spiritual. The most spiritual people right now are the most clean. If you want to go to some of these, they need to be clean. Stay away from people who are high on drugs all the time or drinking every day. That means that they're susceptible and they most likely are already inundated, and what's inside of them is using them as a way to lure other spiritual people to them, to infest them. Just like the butt worm that makes penises want to go in the butt. So now when a man gets infested with the butt parasite, he starts craving to stick his wand in other butts. It does that. Same with spiritual infestation. All kinds of possession, whether it's parasitic possession or spiritual possession, is all the same. All the same. You got people in here who will say, hey, let's go get high. Let's go let's go to the dispenser. Oh my God, they got all this stuff. I wouldn't trust anyone I'm not trusting anyone who's smoking weed daily. No. Maybe back in the days, because weed was, chiefing was like basic. Somebody got chief, it was like a nickel a dime bag, and there was seeds up in there, right? And they would complain about having seeds in it. That's not the case. And I don't care what people say is organic. If it's grown in the United States under this firmament and this dome where it's got all kinds of chemtrails falling every day, there's no such thing as organic weed grown in the United States. Unless they growing it inside hydroponic and they're doing it inside themselves and they got seeds. But if you smoking right now, you lowering your immune system. If you want to smoke, you need to wait after the pole shift. Wait until after the pole shift to smoke up. And the NPCs also, just like you have NPCs that are distractions, NPCs can also be enemies. So basically you can get an NPC that's set up to be your number one antagonist. Okay, so you have an NPC coming in your life. When you've leveled up, they will send a test to you, a test tube baby to you. Okay, and then you'll be like, oh, wow, this person, but you have to use your spiritual discernment. Trust your gut. And the reason why they mess with our guts and our stomachs is that that's where we know the truth. In your gut is where you know the truth of what something is or isn't, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's something that isn't meant to be alchemically in your, your stratosphere. Things that you feel in your gut are always going to be correct. But if it messes with your stomach, you can't really tell, because now you don't have the full mechanics of being able to discern. They will send people. You ever listen, when I was at the height of my remember when I did the reptilian disclosing discernment of how to figure out that a reptilian, if someone was a reptilian. I did that video. I tell you, they were sending men from all different arenas because they don't know what I like. So they were sending all kinds of men towards me, like calling me, like finding me online. Hey, I'm this and that. Guys following me around the grocery store. No, because you know why? Because when I was at that state, they wanted to infiltrate me. They wanted to dirty me up and distract me. Because once you start leveling up, they want to find a way to stop you. And sometimes they can't do it overtly, so they find sub-tier ways to find people, places, and things to get inside of that. So when I was doing the whole reptilian of disillusionment, they were sending all kinds of Smiths at me, left and right. But FleurBrun, I don't get down with the get down. It takes really a lot for you to catch my attention and to get me dirty. So it didn't work, but at the time, they'll send it up. And if they don't feel like it can get you that well, they'll make you meet people that seem like friends, or people adding them to your group. I mean, they now with my groups, they always send like Agent Smiths in the groups. Always. People that are just there to set up, cause coups in your groups. They want to set up, they had a whole group of people coming in my group saying, talking, bringing up concepts of, FleurBrun is like, she's diabolical. She's doing this. Meanwhile, I'm not doing anything but just talking, bringing up stuff, building with people, but they will do that and they'll build coups. So they'll drag other people that are close to me to try to do that. So it causes dissension. It's a perfect storm. but can't stop, won't stop, because it doesn't matter. Because once I find out, I just disperse, get rid of them with some bug spray, with some of that insectilion bug spray. Shh, spray them, get rid of them, close them down, disinfect them. It's all good in the hood. Smudge that sucker out. You do a nice little, exorcism of your spaces. And you keep it moving. You don't let it hold you down. You don't let it bitter you or anything like that. It's part of the program. It's the neighborhood you in. The higher the level, the bigger the devils. Shh. Get that bug spray and get them out, and that's it. All they could do is look from a distance, but they aren't going to be allowed in the space anymore because I disinfected the space. You got to do what you got to do. So y'all, let's just say this, y'all. Just be careful. Oh, transgender weed. Oh, wow. Dorian, you might be right. Just be mindful, y'all. The NPCs are on and popping. They at the highest level. It's not like before when we played Pac-Man. It's very little inception. The ghosts are very little. No. These suckers are very in the highest level of the video game. You gotta pay attention. And not everybody's a NPC, but there are not many real players in here. The majority of the players in this motherfucking simulation are artificial intelligence. You have to be able to notice them, discern, and move it. Or if you want to engage, know what it is. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't have a little interface with the NPCs because they're all over the place. It's a video game. You got to at least enjoy the scenery, but know what it is. If you see them trying to set up shop and to distract you, like if you were going to go somewhere, let's say you were going to plan to go to like this spiritual place, to like the forest or something, and all of a sudden they call and say, hey girl, there's a sale on Birkin bags. Oh my God, it's like 50 to 60% off. We gotta go. You wanna come with me? I'll drive you. That's a setup. Listen, you were about to go to the forest to go walking with no shoes, enjoy yourself, and she called you and she said it was so unbelievable because you were about to level up with the fairies and the trees. This mother freaker calls you and is like, yo, let's go to get the Birkin bags from 40% off. And then when you say no, she calls back, oh my God, it's buy one, get one free. I'll get one and you'll get one. Girl, I'm gonna pick you up. Listen, you gotta pay attention and you gotta know your triggers and your sensitivities. Are you gonna be susceptible to the kind of like temptation? Is the Birkin bag worth you being compromised? Is that day that you would have gone in the forest, would you have met with your spiritual team to level you up and clear yourself? And this mother freaking NPC got the perfect alarm system where she has to build a distraction enough to pull you away from that leveling up. You got to know what it is. Now, do you hate the NPC? That's her directive. She's a program. You can't hate a program. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's directed to do so. But you have to know that if you're going in a direction that is to build you spiritually or level you up physiologically, maybe something to help you or your family, and something is driving you away from that, that is something that most likely is part of the simulated distracting NPC system. The Smithitarians coming in to build a distraction enough to pull you away from illuminating any higher. Okay? You got to be careful because not everything, like there are not a lot of real people in here. Most of the mother freakers in here are some sort of AI simulation, or they could be bioborgs. Or let's even build into the narrative, because me saying they're not real doesn't mean they're not organically real. You've got shapeshifters in here that are using technology or some sort of, they have a physiological, biological way to change the way they look. So when I say not real, it's not only are you dealing with NPCs that are AI generated or bioborgs that are more synthetic, mechanical built. You've got these beings in here, what we call alien type of beings, that are shape-shifting themselves, looking human very well. And you can usually discern, I've taught y'all how to do that. You could tell one of those types of reptiles or insectilians that are shapeshifting because you usually get nauseous. We're so sensitive to their frequency that when you're in close proximity of these sub-tier humanoids that are shapeshifting, or entities that are shapeshifting themselves, you usually get nauseous. You feel dizzy. You get pains in your shoulders. Because they aren't the same frequency. They're from another place. Even though they're visually, they look like you because they're able to change their look, you still feel it as a human. So those are easy. I think you should be able to discern those. And then you have the Cabbage Patch, the mud flood people. These are the bioengineered, genetically homogenized beings. Cabbages, supposedly test tubes, they're bioengineered, and cats. Those are the ones who uphold the whole system. They're always doing whatever the agendas are. They haven't the ability to get past the ceiling because they were built with the ceiling kind of firewalled into them. So they can't get above that. So those are the people with like really harsh prejudices, really harsh, like the whole political thing, really religious. I personally think those are most likely, if they're not NPCs or the others, those most likely are those Cabbage Patch children, the mud flood people. They always, remember, all of these places where there used to be pyramids and so on, after the reset, they fill them in with the mud flood children and they reinstitute. That's why they never look like the original people. Okay, so those could be those people too. And you don't want to mess with them because they're so limited and capped. You're going to mess up your whole life just dealing with them. They aren't able to be conscious. That's why when you say, oh my God, did you see the chemistry? They'll be like, what are you talking about? Why are you so paranoid? That's crazy. And let's have a glass of wine. Just take a shot. You won't see it anymore. Take a shot of vodka. Okay? Those are those people. Yo, I got to go to work the next day. What are you bothering me? I got to go to work. I can't do that. They come home, they watch the game, eat their frozen dinners. They're complicit because they're capped in their DNA. There's a ceiling in their awareness. They aren't getting past the ceiling. Now, those may be spirits in them, but they certainly aren't souls. There isn't any souls in those bodies. Those literally are encapsulated with some sort of, I say spirit, and I don't know if that's the case. They may not have anything really, just kind of like organized essence, but they aren't conscious. So if you mess with them, you basically are going to keep on that sub-tier level. It's going to be hard because once you're reaching past that ceiling, they're going to pull you down because they aren't able to see it or experience it or acknowledge it. Okay, and how you know that they are either mud flood NPCs is they have a lack of imagination. One thing you'll notice, and I have to emphasize this: NPCs, not the aliens, because it could be different types of beings. I can't speak on that. Aliens, NPCs, bioborgs, and mud flood people have zero original thought, zero uniqueness. They only follow what is put out there. They're copycats too. They'll copy and paste too. They haven't any originality. They can't create anything. They don't create new languages. They don't create anything new. What they do is they follow the trends of others that are unique, copy it, and then propose it as if it's them. So that's a definitive way that you can distinguish whether someone is an NPC, a bioborg, or a mud flood Cabbage Patch person, because there hasn't any uniqueness and independent thought. That comes from being soul based. That comes from you coming outside of the firmament. You having a soul, you have access to a plethora of information that isn't limited to this time-space continuum. So you are able to build new words, create new language, new songs, have new rhythm, make a new art form, create new thought, stimulate patterns of conversation that are outside of the box. This comes from you being a soul-based being. You haven't a limited amount of data. Your data is limitless, infinite, and their data is based and limited with only the data that's inside of the firmament. Okay, that's a big deal. That's why a lot of times you got to be careful, because I would sit down and listen to people. They come and listen to something and say, and then they go and regurgitate it and say it as if it's theirs. Now, I don't mind sharing because I think that's what we're supposed to do. But at least say where you got the information from, rather than taking someone else's and spinning it as your own. That makes me think that they're an NPC. Most likely they are. Or lazy, because it doesn't have to be an NPC. It could be someone lazy who's just a hijacker of somebody else's information and is just using it because they're not really incentivized to do it themselves. It's easier for them to steal. Okay, they're lower beings anyway, because anybody who would do that already has a limited amount of consciousness. Okay, stealing, hurting, killing, fighting, cursing. You know, someone who curses a lot. It may not be I wouldn't say that that's NPC based, because I've seen people who I know most likely have souls, but cursing is a lower form. Like people who curse, usually they get sick, they don't do well in life, they die early, because that's a spell, okay? And they don't realize by cursing, especially in a realm with spiritual people, they get that ricochet back on them. So cursing is also a sign of lower consciousness, very limited, more remedial kind of mindset. It may not be somebody who's here for, they're probably going to come back in the recycling, matrix, and come back and just, you know, and work their way up, because that's a remedial form of consciousness. It doesn't mean that they're not souls. It just means they're limited, because if you aren't aware and you say you're conscious of cursing and what that does to you and those you're doing it to, it means you're not aware. Self-awareness is key in being higher in consciousness and awareness. If you aren't self-aware of your words, your actions, if you could keep doing something perpetual and not be aware of it, you could be an NPC, because that's looping. But if you're not growing from it and not learning, and you keep repeating offensive type of things to others or yourself, it just makes me think you're more remedial. You're not really higher in the spectrum of, you know, being able to ascend. So you'll most likely be recycled back into the, you know, into the matrix. And then you'll go through the systems of reincarnation until you get back to reset. Okay? Cursing is, and cursing was created for that. That's why they want everybody to do it. And that's why you constantly see like all these channels. And be careful, because if you're watching people who are doing that, that's a spell. It's a spell. And it's lower spelling. You know what I mean? So, you know, I wear enough of ricochet things on me, so when people curse, it gets thrown on them. But people who generally do a lot of cursing, their lives fall apart a lot easier. They deal with a lot of trials and tribulations, sicknesses, health issues, poverty issues. You know, that's why you don't even have to see someone. You see their life, and you can kind of just basically predict what's going on with them based on their behavior. You could just see, it's like, oh, this person has a lot of, you know, issues with fiat, holding it, and then they have a lot of sicknesses around the family. They probably curse a lot. They probably have that kind of mindset, or they fight a lot. They're very conflictory. People who like to fight a lot. Physical fighting, people who like to physically touch people and hurt people all the time, that's a lower remedial state of consciousness. The more physical you are, the less spiritual you are. So that just that's an alignment thing. So really in itself, the less physical you are with sex, fighting, fornication, all that stuff, the more spiritual you are. If you're really horny all the time, you can't control it, you got to masturbate all the time, you've got to have sex, you have to have attention, or you fight people, you're combative, you talk about your family, you do things, that's a form of limited consciousness, okay? So when you do things like that, it'll show up in your health. And if it's not you, it'll show up with the children or people around you. So you be mindful of that. Or watching cursing when you have your children around, because then you may have a protection on your, oh my God. See if there's a 13, put 13 if you see me. No, it's not a call. Put 13 if you see me. That was wild. Y'all, that wasn't, no, I didn't get a phone call. A face flashed on my, I'm gonna have to rewind this. What mark is this, 113? I'm gonna have to rewind it. There was a face that popped on my screen. Oh snap, oh snap. They coming. I saw it, but you guys didn't, I don't know if you saw it though. I saw it on my end. It was like a flash, and I kind of freaked out because I saw it. I was like, I know what I saw. It looked like Antel. I gotta rewind and see if I see it again. Oh, that's kind of wild. Shoot, okay. So we talked about that. We talked about NPCs. The final finale, pole shift final finale. Okay, so this is my take on this finale. It's a video game. I'm sure we've seen it before, but this is what I think. I think they're gonna bring two things at once. Might be three, because that's the greatest distraction. They're gonna have the pandemic around the same time as war. So I personally think with the pooping cicadas, with the mold, because the mold is going to be the pandemic. It's going to be like a mold. That mold is more resilient than fungi. And that's why I prefer, like if there was something you want to see fungi more than mold. Mold is more resistant and resilient. It's just something that, like, it's heat resistant sometimes. Mold eats a lot of radiation. We've got a lot of radiation, a lot of radio frequencies and fiber optics all over the place. So it feeds mold. Like if you look at Fukushima, if you look at Fukushima and also Chernobyl, remember that black mold that was on there? It was eating the radiation. It eats radiation. Okay, and sugar, if you look at the mold outside of like dispensaries that like distilleries, like liquor distilleries. If you go to like the Virgin Islands, I think it's like is it St. Thomas or St. Vincent? One of them creates like rum. And you go outside the distilleries, you'll see all of this weird kind of mold on the trees because it eats also sugar. So sugar along with radiation will feed the mold. So if anything, yeah, fungus likes sugar too, because fungus is the sugar, you know what I mean? So I would really be mindful with sugar intake. It's okay to have it, but if you do sugar, you got to kind of neutralize it, okay? And you know, not all sugar is a chemical. It's cocaine. Sugar is cocaine, okay? And most people don't realize if you're a heavy drinker, most liquor is made with what? Distilled sugar. Okay, so liquor is in most parts, except there's some liquor that's made with different things, but it's all still fermented fruit, right? Like wine, that's still fermentation is making it into like alchemically like a sugar. Okay, so that in itself, you have to understand that drinking alcohol and spirits, it literally feeds mold and fungus. Okay, so if you want to kind of stay away from that, you want to kind of pull. If you do, I'm not saying you shouldn't, because I mean, you want to enjoy life, but just take that in consideration. Move forward knowing that that is a food source for fungi and mold. Okay, and because I personally think, and this is, I can't vet it out totally because sometimes they'll throw you up, but I personally think that it's going to be the fungi infection of the brain, which is going to cause like a zombie thing. You're going to start to see, I don't know where it's going to kick off first. They are saying something happened in the Congo. The Congo, some sort of infection is in the Congo right now, some weird kind of rogue monkeypox joint. Remember we talked about the monkey balls? All of a sudden they have a super duper monkeypox supposedly outbreak in Congo, which is like a breeding ground of all kinds of bioweapons that Billy Gates likes to, work on the people there and experiment on them. Just saying, okay? So we're gonna have to watch and see which states are hit first, because I can't tell you. I don't know where it's gonna hit first because I don't know where the bioweaponries are. So we'd have to watch and hear. They're not gonna say what it is, y'all. Let me state this. They're not going to say it's a bioweapon. They're not going to say it's a fungi or mold, because that would be triggering. They're going to use a cover of a disease or a virus, but by the name and us looking up the virus, if it's fungi or mold based, we going to know what it is. Okay? I personally think that the pandemic will come because mold and all the spores go rogue like springtime when it gets hotter, remember, mold has spores, which are like flowers that have pollen. To me, it's the same, okay? So mold, its spores are like the pollen to flowers, okay? I think it'll come out when it's really hot, okay? So just pay attention to that. That's how we'll know. We can't verify until we know, but the war is going to be around the same time. So they're going to do a dual or trifecta on us, because it's going to distract you so much, because the pole shift is right around the corner. So they can't have you preparing and stockpiling and growing food somewhere, going to a location that's more cohesive. They need to throw off your balance. So if you got a place to go or you're going to stay, you're going to have to do things now, because when they throw off balance, there's not going to be movement. You're not going to be allowed to leave or move. You're not going to be able to pull money out of the bank. You got to be able to be self-sustaining. I've talked about autonomy for years, and this is one of the conversations I've had with you. So being self-sustaining. If you living off the government, if you're on Section 8, if you living in an apartment and you're subsidized or they have control over you, it's going to be harder. So these are things to think about. I'm not telling you to move, but I'm giving you some information that might be helpful. Being mindful, having a pre-thought, because this is right around the corner. What is it? We're in April. We're already going in the end of April already. May is right around the corner. June is where everything kind of kicks off, right? So if I had to bank it, I would think the fungus, the mold virus will probably come about in June. If I had to think of it, because the hot weather, I just think about hot moisture. It's been raining everywhere. They put the hail down with the bioweapon in it. Everything, okay? The cicadas pooping, projectile 10 feet, urine mold, shooting all over the place. The rats eating them, then the cats eating them, the birds, the fish, it's all going to play into that. Okay, so being self-efficient is definitely something you should think about. And then when the war kicks in, because they're gonna blame Iran for doing some craziness. Israel's gonna kick off, like Israel might kick it, but remember, it's all the same. I think they're all the same characters playing in these things. So just know governments, they all won. They have it all planned. It's probably going to be some that shoot off. Now, if anything nuclear hits, you already know that's radiation. If you get any power plants that kick off or initiate, or power plants that are attacked, that's a lot of radiation. That feeds the spores and the mold. So I think they're going to do it all at once so they can spread it quicker. And this one will take people out. And if it doesn't take them out, it'll make them into zombies. Okay? And I think it's going to be really hard for you to move over because health, we got to be gratefully. We're working on health. I'm working on health, making sure your health is good because it's hard to be proactive when you aren't feeling well. So that's why it's good to have your health and everything right now, because when stress comes like that, it lowers the immune system. So everybody has to be in the same accord. So if you live near a nuclear plant, if you live near a big place where it's a power plant, I would pay attention to that, because if you're near a nuclear plant, you already know within 60 to 100 miles, you're susceptible to anything. And if you got the mold inside of you already, because the cicadas already stuck the mold everywhere, that mold is going to go rogue. And it takes over the brain. Then you get symptoms like dementia, like Parkinson, dementia, Alzheimer's. You start being able to talk. You start stuttering. You start shaking. Yeah. So just pay attention to that, because the mold could be in the body already. Okay. Especially if these things are already in the soil. So just, think about that as what you need to look into. And anti-mold, anti-fungi, you need to work on that. Okay. Pay attention to those things. If you're close to a nuclear site, maybe you want to think of going somewhere that's less inundated by that, if ever it's hit. It may not be hit ever, but what if it is? I'm sure the people in Palestine. Okay, hold on now. What happened? Okay, I'm sure the people in Palestine didn't think about the trains. They wouldn't have thought that there was going to be chemicals on a train in their neighborhood, and look what happened. All the chemicals in all their towns, all their houses were ruined. Anyway, y'all, I'm having company. So I hope this was helpful. Hopefully this video stays up. Tell me if you like it. Add your own opinions. I'm always open to opinions. Be respectful. And we'll definitely chat. If you want to see the last video, I'm probably going to I'm going to try to see if I can I don't know if I can get it on. I'll see if I can upload it to my Rumble. If not, it's going to go on Patreon, but you'll be able to see it regardless. Okay. So hopefully all is well. Share your thing. And please put a like in the video if you want the video to stay up. Hopefully it stays up. Okay. So I wish you well. Thank you very much. And think, be conscious, and we'll see what goes on. Okay? Peace.